only the Ravens receivers could catch anything. This is Corey, and this is the Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. It is 8:34 p.m. Pacific. That makes it 11:34 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, Standard Time.
Yeah.
And the Anthem podcast is live from coast to coast. Welcome, everyone, to episode 187 of the Anthem podcast, broadcasting from beautiful downtown Los Angeles, California, from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 studio.
The 110 studio.
The 110 freeway. That's it. Yeah. Okay. So it's
OTA After Dark seemed to have affected your ability to speak English properly.
Yes. I don't really know what's going on. It's very late, and I have not had a lot of sleep this weekend. So
We had a whole extra hour of sleep this morning.
Technically, but I used that to stay up and write instead.
Yeah. How is NaNoWriMo going for you?
NaNoWriMo is on. I hope everybody who is out there writing for NaNoWriMo is joining me in doing that. I am many thousand words behind, so it's been good. The first couple of days I stayed up, I was actually ahead of words, but I fell behind because I didn't write it all on Friday. And then I was going to write all day on Saturday, and I wrote a fair bit, but I had to do some stuff for work. And then today I had to do stuff for work, so didn't get a chance to write.
Yeah.
So this week I'm going to try and double up every single day and get 2,500 words per day, so that by Friday I am caught back up again.
Very nice.
But you're not doing NaNoWriMo this month?
Not as intended.
Yes.
I'm not writing a novel. Honestly, it's because I don't feel like I have anything at the moment that would be novel worthy, and I don't want to invest the time in something that I'm not all about.
Okay.
So what I'm doing instead is I'm just committing myself to writing the screenplays that I've sort of had backlogged a bit.
Right.
So just clear through things. So I got this Teddy Roosevelt thing I'm working on.
Right.
That's effectively done its first draft.
Effectively, yes.
And after that, I have a feature idea that I've been playing with, and I was going to get right into that with the hope of being that if I can write the same sort of pace as a NaNoWriMo would be,
right,
that I would be able to finish the screenplay in a month.
Right, you should be able to finish by the end of the month.
So if I'm done Teddy by Tuesday, then I move on to this, and then hopefully by the end of November, I have another completed screenplay.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know what it is, NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month. But as you've heard from Corey, a lot of people just use it as inspiration to write every single day. Corey, I gave Corey a copy of Stephen King's On Writing.
Yeah. And
the first part of the book, I probably should have told you ahead of time. You can just not read the first half. It's about how he makes his career. But
if you choose not to. I find that it's interesting hearing about people's stories and how they made it, but never do people have the same exact story.
No.
And it's not like you could do what Stephen King did.
Yes. And it's, the almost, I don't want to say typical, but kind of typical story where it's like, my wife and I sat down, we decided I wasn't going to be a writer, I was going to get a real job, and I was going to do it, and that night the phone rang, and somebody wanted my book, and I'm like, oh, okay, so yeah, I guess that's
all you have to, you have to give up first.
yeah, so, but National Novel Writing Month is a inspiration. It just basically says, hey, you should write 50,000 words in a single month, and if at the end of the month you've done 50,000 words, you have most of a novel, if not a full novel, completed. So they set goals that you have to finish 1,667 words per day. That's your pace that you get to 50,000 words at the end of the month. And if you keep that pace, then you'll finish. All three of my currently published books started as NaNoWriMo projects. So, the very first one, that is how I got the inspiration to finally sit down and tell that story. Was, okay, I'm going to do this thing in 2012. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to write this story finally. And I just need a deadline. Because God knows, I think you and I are the same way about having a deadline and then being like, all right, well, now I have to actually work on it. So I'll go ahead and do that now.
The problem is that, when you don't feel like at least for me, when I don't feel the pressure of the deadline coming on, it's so easy for me to say, well, I got to do this too, and this is actually more important. And writing is the type of thing that you can't, if you have other things in your life, you have to just figure out how to, shoehorn them in elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because you gotta just every single day you gotta work out that muscle and write, and even if you're not writing every single day, you should be writing 5 out of 7 days.
Well, and I tell people, everyone who asks me how do you find the time to write, and we've talked before, I'm a relatively prolific writer. I get the benefit of sitting down and writing a lot when I write, so there's a benefit of being like, oh wow,
you don't get distracted either. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Effectively on weekends I can't write.
Yeah.
Because everyone's here and loud, and there's TV going on, and there's people barging in and stuff like that. It's not quite the same as when I'm home during the weekday, where I have the whole place to myself and can just concentrate.
Meanwhile, on Saturday, people were coming in and out. You guys went downstairs. We had people here who were hanging out, and I was just writing all the way through it.
Yeah.
So it is a totally different situation. But it's
weirdo.
Yeah, it's not too late though. So when you hear this, it will be Tuesday. If you're not watching us live, which by the way, you should be watching us live. Look out for youtube.com/ODAnthem/live, and you'll be able to join us for every single live episode on YouTube.
And if you keep notifications on whatever social network you prefer, whether it be Facebook or Twitter, then you can find out when we're going live. So just get the notification on Twitter, oh, the Anthem is live, and then you come scurrying to your computer.
Or just watch it right on your phone, because I get my YouTube notifications right on my phone, and I can watch it right there.
That's fine too. Whatever is the most convenient for you, we live to serve.
Right, and you could be part of the show. You can comment in the section. We have the comment section open right now where somebody could comment. We also have the listener line. How could somebody get a hold of us there?
It's 443-219-7595, and you would want to text that.
Text the listener line, and you'll be able to be a part of the show that way. But I do encourage people, it's not too late. On Tuesday, it will be day 6 or day 7 of NaNoWriMo. You might not be able to hit 50,000, but just saying, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to write the rest of the month. So I'm going to write 40,000 words in the next the rest of the month. That is just enough inspiration to get you started. So I fully recommend. And if you're going to do that, find me on NaNoWriMo.org. Robert and Cheek is my username, and we can be writing buddies, and we can follow each other along and encourage each other along that path.
And also, one other thing. I encourage everybody. There's a lot of people who want to write something, but they don't know what. And maybe you haven't written regularly for a while. Like you're out of high school, you haven't been doing schoolwork or anything like that. Even if you use NaNoWriMo as an excuse to get the reps and work on it and just do anything, you have my permission to write a story about a guy meets girl.
Yeah.
Like, do the perfect romantic comedy in your mind. Just write it on page and make it. It doesn't have to be good. You don't have to sell whatever you're writing. Nobody even has to read it.
Yeah.
But if you are serious about becoming a writer and you want to write regularly, you're going to have to put in the hours at some point and make this your excuse to do it.
And the other thing I do love, not to wax poetically about this, about NaNoWriMo, is that they say leave the editing to December. Yeah. This is about getting words on the page, and that's a message that writers like Corey need to have, where it's like, all right, I'm just going to get the words down. I'm not going to try to edit. I just want to get the story out there, and I'll worry about editing it later. And you'll be surprised if you allow yourself to do that come December, you're like, wow, there's way more good stuff in here than I thought there was. As I was writing, I thought it was not so good, but there's good stuff.
And if you are a newbie and you're trying to get in a little bit, I would suggest using your writing time to be able to discover what works for you.
Yeah.
I know for people like Rob, just writing, whatever comes out is good for him. For me, I hold myself to a different standard of how I want these things to be. And that's not saying that I'm looking for my writing to be better than Rob's. But, I write very melodically.
Yeah.
So there's a rhythm and a pace to it. So I can read it and determine if it's not right.
Yeah.
Without having to, go into it. It's about figuring out what works for you and being able to get pages done, whatever it takes to get to 1,600. Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, I also know people who aren't going for the words. They're going for, I write poetry, so I'm going to write a poem a day or 2 poems a day.
Yeah.
And then by the time you get to the end of the month, if you continue to do that, you have a book of poetry.
Yeah.
Even though it's not 50,000 words, it is, I'm going to take 15 or 16 of these 45 poems that I wrote and put them in a short book and have that published. And you would never have the inspiration to sit down and actually do that without something like NaNoWriMo.
Yeah.
And speaking of inspiration, we could have used a little more inspiration here in Los Angeles this past week.
Yeah.
We were gearing up the last 2 games of the series. The apartment here was on fire. We were really, really looking forward to the 2 games, and we sat here and we watched both of them, both the last games in LA. And I know you were talking about I want to be dressed and ready, because if they pull this out, I'm going to go out to downtown.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I've never experienced a World Series victory the way I feel like it should properly be done. We were at Hofstra when the Red Sox won their first World Series.
Yes.
And that felt very like it.
Right, because there were so many people from Massachusetts.
Right, in the New England area.
Yeah.
Where you feel like you could just walk out and you could experience the joy that others are feeling.
Yeah.
And I think there would be something interesting about, especially being in a city like Los Angeles that's so big, and just like being downtown, and probably whatever celebration happens would be right downtown.
Right.
Just finding where it is and like going through the city with all these people. And
well, when Adam West died and they had the huge celebration downtown, there was, I imagine that this would be 10 times bigger than that. Just having everyone downtown in one place and having a big party. And again, as you can see from Corey's current shirt, it may be some time before we get to celebrate that ourselves. So it'd be nice to celebrate it with our adopted city. Unfortunately, though, that was not to be.
Now, I'm really quite upset that Game 7 was such a dud.
After the series.
Yeah, no, it just felt like we were in store for like an all-time classic Game 7, and it just wasn't. It wasn't very good.
Well, they jumped up to that early lead.
Yeah. Question for you, because it's been the one that's been running through baseball circles.
Yeah.
You know that Clayton Kershaw is available to pitch in Game 7.
Yes.
Do you start Clayton Kershaw, or do you let him come out of the bullpen like you did? Because Darvish was on regular reps.
Right. I do let him come out of the bullpen, but I pulled Darvish way quicker than they let him go.
Yeah.
When he gets into trouble the first time, in the second, I think, when he was had men on, when they picked up the first 3 runs, I pulled him before he gives up 3 runs.
Yeah.
I know Kershaw is not as dominant from the stretch as he is in the windup, but still, there's got to be something about you're getting ready to come up to bat and like things are like rolling along, and then Clayton Kershaw's coming out of the bullpen towards you. You know, like there's got to be and the style of pitching is so different between Yu Darvish and Clayton Kershaw that to have to adjust in the middle of an inning, like that's what these kind of series are meant for. It's like do or die, treat it with that kind of respect, and I don't know that it was treated with that. It was like no, this is just another. You pulled a buck, all right? Listen, don't save our closer for a game that may never happen.
Or an inning that may never happen.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I agree. I probably would have put Kershaw in earlier. I don't know if I would have started him, though, because he was not great in Game 5. And I think if you're planning on starting Kershaw, you have to go in with the plan originally, which is sort of what I was talking about. Like, start in Game 1, start in Game 4 on shorter rest.
Yeah.
On 3 days rest instead of 4 days rest, and be ready to start in Game 7.
Yeah.
If it comes to that, because you would want to have as many opportunities with Kershaw as you can.
But they went the full rest and let him play Game 5.
Yeah.
And now you're putting on extra short rest.
Dynamic on 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, in the end,
he did great in Game 7, but it just wasn't. You know, once you're down 5-0, it was kind of beside the point.
Well, and I was going to say that he gave up no runs. He was not his typical dominant self, but he did his job. He came in and did the middle reliever job of holding the line where it is. It shouldn't have been there. I mean, I think they put up runs in the second and the third. So again,
First and the second.
Was it the first and the second?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, so I missed the first.
They put up 2 in the first and then 3 in the second.
Right. So change my comments from earlier. When he gets in trouble in the first, I think maybe then I think about bringing in Kershaw. But certainly, I'm not sure I let him go out for the second. Because once you're down by 2, you're starting to get into that, like, I know this has been a series where you're down by 3, it's not a big deal, but it's Game 7.
Right.
You cannot let that kind of thing get out of control. And then even if you let him come out in the second inning, when he starts getting base runners on, you got to pull him. Don't let him make the mistake. But
it's like the weird. It's so. What I find interesting about it is that in almost every sport we try and come up with these moments like it would have been better if we would have started Kershaw instead. But if one thing changes, then the whole game changes.
Right. It's
not like if Kershaw started and instead of coming out of the bullpen, he would have thrown 4 scoreless innings. And then even if he starts the game with 4 scoreless innings, there's no guarantee that whoever comes in, if Darvish comes in to back him up,
right,
then he's going to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all, like nobody knows the answers to these things. So it's a lot of questionable.
But nobody also would have thought that 5 runs would have been insurmountable in this series.
Right.
And I get that. He gives up 2. Okay, you send him out there maybe again, and he gives up 3 more, and you're like, he'll go out and pitch a third. It'll be fine.
It just looks like Darvish wasn't there. Like he wasn't locked in. Like, you know how I tell you that I can tell if Ubaldo's going to be bad when he's warming up.
Right.
Like he's going to have a good day or a bad day.
I got 2 starters coming up today,
Yeah.
Ubaldo and somebody else, and if Ubaldo's not looking great,
side by side in the bullpen, and if I don't like it, if I don't like the look of it,
I'm just gonna pull Ubaldo and put somebody else in. Yeah. Because like he's coming. Because otherwise the other guy's coming in the second anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I don't know if I would want to have dueling starters with like Yu Darvish, because Yu Darvish is one of the 20 best pitchers in the game.
But again, when you see him struggling in the first, he gives up runs in the first. Okay, you see him struggling again in the second. I think you got to make the call and pull him out. And listen,
I think you just gotta be real quick with that leash.
Yeah.
Figure it out however you want. I mean, I get it if you want to bring in like Morrow, so you don't waste Kershaw and lose the pitcher's spot in the lineup.
Right.
But you gotta just you can't live like oh, maybe he'll turn it around. Like,
well, Game 5, he left Kershaw in too long. Like again, that's you leave it in the hands of your pitcher.
Kershaw also needs to pitch back. I mean, like, it's not Robert's job to play the game. It's his job to put the players in the best situation to succeed.
Yeah.
And if he's, he expects when he gives Kershaw a 3-run lead, he's going to be able to run with it a little bit.
Yeah.
And Kershaw couldn't find the strike zone. So that's not Dave. I mean, like,
also
it's not like Dave Roberts like pulled him in the dugout and he's just like, hey, try not to throw as many strikes. It's boring.
The umpire crew in Game 5. The crew entirely wasn't so bad, but the home plate umpire was abysmal.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I can get why
he was the one who inspired our robot ump competition last week. Yeah.
Because I don't know how, as a pitcher, you're looking at that like, where do I throw it? Other than right down the middle. Where would you like me to put it where it's going to be a strike, except for right down the middle? Like, you can't work corners when this corner is a strike, and then literally 2 pitches later, that exact same spot is a ball. I don't know how you adapt to that. But again, it's the World Series, and you have 200-plus winner teams. It's okay. I don't want to say it's okay. I'd rather see it there than the wild card game, where you're like, it's do or die for one of these teams, and the pitchers can't find the strike zone because the ump's moving it around so much. Yeah. But the run production wasn't there either. I don't know what happened with the Dodger offense.
At least you could say for that both teams had the same disadvantage with the ump. Like, it's not like the Dodgers were getting all the shitty calls and Houston was succeeding,
And they were both I'm surprised nobody got tossed from that game.
The worst is that we lived through Jeffrey May. That one was just a one-sided hurt the Orioles and save the Yankees call.
And makes us always be fans of the instant replay.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we were calling for it back then as well.
We're looking at shit. What was his name? The outfielder.
Tony Tarasco.
Tony Tarasco.
Yeah.
He's like pointing up. He's like, "This is why we need replay."
Orioles were behind the replay early.
Way to figure it out.
Anyway, but the Dodger offense also went quiet in Game 7.
Yeah.
A series that had more home runs than any other previous series, I think, was the stat that they were saying. Like, for it to, it was the size of the home runs. It was 3-run homers and then 3-run homer and then 3-run homer. That had never been done in a series before. And then to have the Dodgers just show up and not be able to hit the ball at all, and not even be able to get men on and move them around.
It's the one flaw about baseball is that, like, I can't guarantee you if say the Angels are in or the O's are in town to play the Angels.
Yeah.
And I go to Monday and Tuesday, and there's a Wednesday game as well.
Yeah.
And you can't go to Monday and Tuesday, but you've been like thinking of it. You're like, oh man, I really want to go, but I just can't. I just can't do it. Monday, Tuesday, they're all timers. They're amazing games. They're fun from beginning to end. Offense on both sides, with like good pitching and everything. And then I'm just like, dude, you got to find your way down to Anaheim for Game 3.
Yep.
It's a day game. You're like, oh god, should I call out? Am I sick?
And then
this game, and you go, and then Wednesday is the worst stupid game ever.
The Rangers
roasting in the sun.
The Rangers 30-3 win and just roasting out in the stands.
Yeah.
I
mean, like at least with like football, I mean, there's the any given Sunday approach to it, but usually like going into the Ravens Titans game today, I knew like they were somewhat evenly matched, but the Titans are probably a little bit better, and that's effectively what the game was.
Very close.
But the Titans pulled it out.
And, I do want to say a couple of things to the Ravens. Always take the points.
Yes.
What are you doing? What was the difference in the final score?
3 points.
And what happened, mid fourth quarter when they were in field goal range?
Decided to go for it instead of
Yeah.
kicking the field goal.
Yeah. Too cute by half.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Don't stop doing that. Go for the points. Hey, somebody's joined us in the chat. Fluttershy, welcome. Hello.
Hey.
So I just said hi. Yeah. So the one thing I don't mind a Ravens loss. You're gonna win. You're gonna win some. You're gonna lose some as the season goes along. But in LA, it's gotten rough because I got to get up at 8:30 in the morning to go watch the Ravens lose. This is not a great situation.
Right.
So unfortunately, that's what we did. And it's the teaser games that maybe are the worst because it's like we're gonna hold off on the check. This might be going to overtime.
Yeah.
And then
I want to be sure that I can get a beer. I don't want to have to open up a new tab or anything.
Yeah, and unfortunately no. So
and then the worst is like when it's so close that you're waiting on the check, and then the game is over, and you're not going to win anymore, and you're like, all right, can I get that check? And you're waiting behind everybody else.
Yeah.
Who decided to cash out early.
Yeah, unfortunately. But so Ravens are 4-5. How are you feeling? I mean, this is not the powerhouse we saw in weeks 1 and 2 for sure.
Well, I mean, we were playing the Browns and the Bengals.
Yeah, but they looked really good. And then even on Thursday, we looked really good against the Dolphins.
Yes, I mean, I guess my overall complaint, I don't think that Joe. People like to pick on Joe, but this wasn't Joe's fault. I think that none of the receivers being able to catch the ball is the biggest problem.
Okay.
That's my personal take. Like,
now there was some problems with catching, but there's always the consistent check down.
If there's not Macklin and Wallace are just straight line runners. There's no
But
they don't
somebody's
get open. It's not like Bolden who you could just literally just be get open, and he just find a way to get into an open space.
Somebody is calling those plays, and it's not Joe. Joe's not calling them from the line. So they're probably. But then again, yes, maybe Macklin and Wallace are going straight down the field. But Joe is still checking down, and he's not taking that big throw downfield that's going to make a huge difference in the game. There was maybe 2 or 3 shots that were
there was
greater
more
than
that. I think you're misremembering.
Maybe so. I just didn't see any catches. All I know is 19 yards from scrimmage was the longest play at all for the Ravens today.
I mean, there was the one that got intercepted that bounced off of Wallace's
hands.
And
that's
Chris Moore's hands.
But that's one of those any given Sunday plays where you're like, how is that going to happen? How does that possibly happen?
But I mean, if he catches it and it doesn't bounce off his hands, then it's not an interception. It's
catch. Yes.
It's a huge catch.
And puts us in the red zone. Yes,
right.
absolutely.
It's 30 yards down the field. It would have changed a lot of things. But again, you change one thing. It's the butterfly effect. You can't change one thing. Everything is affected by the one change.
Right. Well, speaking of the butterfly effect, let's talk about another butterfly effect. Oh God, how far do we have to go? If in 1968 Bill Clinton had walked away from Hillary Rodham, how our world could have been so different. I've told you before about the story about the one Buffalo Bills one pass in 1976 that lost them the game. They got the first round draft pick. They picked O.J. Simpson. He went to Buffalo. He met Nicole, and now the Kardashians are famous.
Yeah.
So that was our version of this for the DNC story this week is Bill Clinton. Maybe he just goes and has a fun night and then doesn't ever call Hillary Rodham again. But instead he did, and now.
Now we have to live this nightmare forever.
Yes, now we're going to continue to live this nightmare. So if you guys haven't heard this week, the big story coming out of politics this week, surprising, not coming from Trump, but coming from the DNC.
Well, I mean, there are plenty of Trump things. I mean, like his, what was it, not the Treasury Secretary, but
one of the secretaries not revealing that he had contact with
financial agreement with Putin's son. So
anyway,
wonderful.
But the big story of this week was that Donna Brazile published her book, or published excerpts from her book. Mm-hmm. And what was revealed is that there was a memorandum of understanding between the Clinton campaign and the DNC that if the Clinton campaign paid off the debt of the DNC so they could continue to fundraise and continue to be an organization, that she would have the authority to spend some of those those funds as she saw fit, and that she would basically be running the DNC. And this was all happening during the primary campaign. So I don't remember. I feel like we had some thoughts about the primary while it was going on, didn't we?
Yeah, that it was so horribly skewed towards Hillary and not towards fair competition.
Yeah. There was a lot of the DNC backing Hillary.
Right.
By the way, Donna Brazile was not the one who signed the memorandum. That would have been her predecessor.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Oh, yeah. And then
who we've also said many things about, I'm sure.
There's a lot of podcasts about us talking about these people. So, but Donna Brazile came in after Debbie Wasserman Schultz left in disgrace, and then went to work for the Clinton campaign because that didn't look weird at all. And now she's written a book, and she said she found out about this memorandum of understanding. And the big question is, this basically proves that there was collusion between the campaign and the DNC. But how much collusion and what was actually happening?
So let's back up just a little bit. Essentially, why this agreement even came into existence is because Obama had basically bankrupted the DNC.
Right.
Put them in so much debt, they were not getting the people to donate when Obama was a lame duck, essentially.
Yeah.
They were running in the negative and couldn't do basic staffing and hiring and stuff like that. The agreements that they made, which was signed by both the Hillary camp and the Bernie camp, was to basically agree to siphon off some of what they make in fundraising,
right,
and put it into the DNC coffers. With the thought process being that at the end of it, whoever is the nominee between the two of you, or between, if O'Malley somehow happened to squeak by through all this, then they would have gotten the pool at the end for which to run the general.
Right. Also, though, part of that
was the only one who actually donated money in, but she was also the only one who asked for anything in return for the money.
Right. So the two things. One, also, there was an understanding that, and this is how the DNC sold it and how I would sell it, is that you becoming president doesn't matter unless we have a Democratic Congress. So the money you're helping us with is also going to help us feed money into the DCCC and into the
down-ticket races.
Yeah, and we want to support down-ticket races, especially the governorship, because one thing that we've talked about previously is how bad a situation the governorship is right now. I think that we're nearing 3 out of 4 governors being Republican, which means that they'll be able to very soon call for a constitutional convention if they wanted to. But nonetheless, the DNC was concerned about down-seat races, and they also wanted to support the campaigns, and they wanted to have money to donate to the campaigns. But yes, Hillary Clinton was the only one who I think donated in, but she also asked for something in return. It wasn't just going to give the money out of the goodness of her heart.
Right.
It was, I'm going to do this, but I expect to have a little bit of control over where this money goes.
And who gets put into positions of power. Who gets into communications and so on and so forth.
Right. So we said for a long time during the campaign that it seemed as though the DNC was colluding, that Bernie was getting cut out of a lot of stuff. There was allegations of voter fraud, where that the DNC was actively defrauding their own voters in order to push votes towards Hillary.
Right.
And even with all of this, she squeaked out a win using only the superdelegates, which was a process put in place after 1968 so that candidates like Bernie wouldn't become the nominee.
And here's the thing. I understand where the traditional guard of the Democratic Party is a little bit upset with Bernie.
Mm-hmm.
How he's not a Democrat from birth, essentially. He just joined in after the fact. His profile, I guess.
Yes.
To put him in the place where he could actually run for president. I get it, but at the same time, I guess the part that angers me the most is the number of Democratic strongholds in the media who are basically saying well, none of this matters. Bernie didn't win. We have Trump now because people decided not to show up and vote for Hillary. So let's not keep litigating the 2016 election. Let's move on. Let's figure out how to come together as Democrats and blah 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 blah. But here's the point. I don't trust that this system is going to be better in the future because of how badly it was handled in the past.
Right.
And I can't trust that if there was a situation in the future that would be like a Bernie-Hillary situation, that Bernie would get any kind of love at all. And there are many examples along the course of the election the primary election, which I feel that everybody is just casually ignoring or act like it didn't happen. So when you weigh the deck, you get a lot of little victories.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, when Iowa had like 6 or 7 caucuses that were too close to call and they went to coin flips and Hillary won every single one, you remember that?
Yeah.
That felt a little bit, something was in the cards.
But
6 perfect coin toss are a little bit.
But we said then,
Yeah.
It's a coin toss. Who's to say?
Right.
Who's to say it's a coin toss? And the odds that you win 6 coin tosses are low, but you could win 6 coin tosses in a row.
But then there was the other, so it was, I think it was New Hampshire, the next one, where Bernie had won pretty dominant, like had won the popular vote of New Hampshire, huge. And then when you looked at how the delegates broke down, it was all super delegates for Hillary.
Yeah.
And she ended up with more votes at the end of New Hampshire than Bernie did.
But that's the system. That's the system they developed. It worked exactly as it was supposed to.
Right, but maybe more of these superdelegates would feel inspired if this was 2 completely brand new candidates.
Right, yeah.
That nobody had any particular tie to.
Mm-hmm.
Then you would think that the superdelegates would go, A, more towards the will of the people.
They would, yes.
And B, that the overwhelming nature of how they decided would be less. And you got to keep in mind that the people who are superdelegates are party loyalists.
Well, not even that. Who are the superdelegates? Most of them are elected officials on down-ticket ballots.
Yeah.
Who is now in control of where the DNC is going to spend money down-ticket?
Yeah.
I mean, that is the big story that I don't see anyone talking about. Like, if I am a congressman from New Hampshire, and I want to, I am worried about my down-ticket race, I have a vote as a superdelegate. And I know that Hillary is running the gamut basically right now, and she's running the entire DNC. I want to cast my vote for her so that she supports me in a down ballot race. If I don't, and she loses, but what's the likelihood that the DNC donates money to me if she is in fact in charge of all the money, which now it looks like she was.
Yeah.
And the question is, who knew that? How many people knew it? I doubt that the party could keep a secret that long, but it's probably one of those things that Hannibal Buress brought out the Bill Cosby. Everybody knows.
I feel like part of the thing is that like our memories are so short on this thing. So I was looking back. Obviously, Hillary won in large part because of the superdelegate lead, but there was many people also bring up the fact that Hillary won by 4 million votes, and that was more than Obama had won. That was a bigger lead than Obama had over Hillary when she backed out. Fine, but also you're forgetting about the voter discrimination that happened against Bernie supporters essentially in Arizona. The whole shit show that happened in Nevada, the fact that votes in LA County are still not counted, and that
2 million votes.
That provisional ballots that were sent out have not been counted. And I'm not saying that any of these things would have swayed how the election went, but it feels so dastardly.
Yes.
Just much like when we were arguing about when they were putting on the debates, it just felt like, why would you even just put it on a Thursday when people are at home and watching TV?
Why is it a Saturday night?
Yeah, why is it? But not only why is it a Saturday night? Why is it a Saturday night going up against some really big event?
Yes. Yeah.
Going up against World Series Game 5. Why are you doing that? It doesn't make any sense.
That brings us to one of our.
I don't remember what it was, but I know they were up against
It was up against something. The finale
game maybe or something like that.
I thought it was the finale of a show, but it might have been football.
Yeah.
Now it was Saturday though, so it wouldn't have been up against football. Unless it was Sunday night and they put it up against Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I think we watched the other thing instead of the debate, whatever it was.
I think there was 3 things. I feel if I remember correctly, it's just why are people going to watch the DNC? Because there's a big Sunday Night Football game and there's Walking Dead or something like that. And it's just
This Is Us? Was This Us? This
no,
is us on?
Not at that point.
Okay. But anyway, that brings us to our newest segment and something that we're debuting right for you guys tonight. The new segment called How Would We Fix It?
Yeah.
And so the one this week we're going to talk about is the DNC. How would you fix the DNC, Corey?
Well, number one, I would eliminate the superdelegate system. Or, at the very least, curtail it enough so that it could save you in time of need, but it wouldn't be an overwhelming force
in
how the vote is tabulated. Furthermore, I would make that secret. I would not put people make people declare an allegiance beforehand, because that got us in a lot of trouble when people who were 15 states away were already saying like, I'm with Hillary. And
Right.
So like, well, Hillary could be in jail by the time that it could be put. There's still like things hanging over Hillary's head.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, there were at that point.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and you're saying already at this point, so far out, you're going to support her regardless of what happened.
Right.
You know, like that seems very. It'd be fine if you come out and be like, well, you know, if everything goes the way it's supposed to and there's no changes, then I'll be with Hillary. But, you know, like, this Bernie Sanders guy is a plucky young lad, and not really.
He's none of those things. Not plucky, not young, and not a lad.
The other thing I would do is I would try and figure out how to. There's a lot of sort of independent grassroots activism on the left,
Mm-hmm.
and people seem to be able to get together real quick when they want to go protest a congressional town hall or something like that, or if they want to have a march against Trump or a women's march or whatever it is. The left has been very good at being able to get all these people together.
Yeah.
Figure out what they are doing independently of the DNC to be able to do these sort of things,
Mm-hmm.
and try and capitalize on that that idea. Because I feel like if you said, like, the DNC officially is saying, if you come out to Washington and stand in the plaza in front of the Washington Monument,
Yeah.
then we will bring an end to Trump's administration. Like, he does not want people out there protesting on his tax bill day.
Right.
Like, figure out a way to rile up the troops, and then furthermore, find out a way to make money from them. Because the RNC, despite being a colossal shit show in its own right,
Yeah.
is printing money.
Yes.
And part of the reason why they're able to compete in every single election is because they have money to burn on these types of things. And the DNC is still effectively broke.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you have to create, like, a special, like, high rollers club or something like that, but
Yeah.
figure out a way to get more money from the people who donate and get money from people who don't donate.
Okay.
That's,
So, raise money, raise the correct amount of money, get the activist left to join the DNC, basically, and get rid of the superdelegates, or reform it so that it makes more sense in the election.
yeah.
Okay. So, that's Corey's solutions to how would he fix the DNC. Now here we go. So, let's get to a real solution, the real problem, which is this. We gotta stop making superstars in the Democratic Party. We love our superstars. We love Kennedy. We love Clinton. We loved Obama. All of these presidents really ramshod over their party, and they left their party much worse than when they found it. Kennedy not so much. Johnson after Kennedy really mismanaged.
I mean,
the
like,
party.
Johnson or Kennedy didn't really do anything.
No, but he mismanaged. Johnson mismanaged the Kennedy party that he had. But when Clinton, we look at why Bush won again. In 2 consecutive times in a Trump I think people forget how disliked Bush was in his first administration. It was very Trump-like in his dislike, but he won again 4 years later. But that's because Clinton.
Oh, you're talking about W.
Sorry,
Yeah.
the first Bush. After Clinton had been in office for 8 years,
Yeah.
he decimated the Democratic Party because it became Clinton's party.
Yeah.
What is the one difference you have on any Democratic stage or for presidential debate and the Republican stage for presidential
You
debate?
usually have a superstar.
There is a superstar, and there is way less people. There is always less people at a Democratic debate than there is at the Republican debate.
Yeah.
The Republicans had a senior table and a junior table in 2016.
Yeah.
It's not the first time that they've had to break it up into 2 debates.
And the DNC only had 5 people at most at any of the debates. And that got rounded down to 3.
In Iowa.
Yeah, in the first race.
Yeah.
And then after the first debate, I mean, even before Iowa voted,
Yeah.
2 people had already dropped out.
Lincoln Chafee and
Jim Webb.
Jim Webb, yeah. So this is what I don't understand, is that you can't build a party around a superstar. It's great to have a superstar. It's great to have a personality like Obama. But you need to put that back into the party. You can't make it the Obama party.
Superstars also backfire.
They do.
Because part of the reason why the Republicans have been so great at raising money is because there's so many people talking about how terrible Obama is and how he's ruining America. And, you know, however you feel about it, one way or the other. These types of things going like, we have to stop Obama. Like, your money helps us put candidates in the field who will rein him in and stop him from doing all these evil socialist things that he's doing.
So I have great examples, but they're all historical, and I don't really want to drop all this history on you. But really what comes down to is the Democratic Party is run like not even an oligarchy, like a despotism. We take one person and we push them up to the leader, and then we all follow them. And then once their time is done, then we're left sitting around like, okay, so the despot has taken all these millions and they've gone off to their island. What are we supposed to do?
Right.
The Republicans run themselves in everything like a military unit. They say, hey, we're going to make one of us the leader. And when Mitt Romney's up there in 2012, John McCain falls the fucking line.
Yeah.
He was there in 2008. He was the chosen one in 2008. When he falls, he steps back down into the line. We're all on a line again. And then Mitt Romney steps up in 2012. Like, this is something that the Democratic Party needs to learn. You have to say all of our stars are on equal level. And I get Obama was this rising star, but the thing that people don't understand is Clinton was this rising star. He was a one-term governor from Arkansas. Kennedy was a one-term senator from Massachusetts. We love our rising stars because they talk about hope and they talk about change and they talk about doing all these things. They don't end up doing any of those things, which, by the way, is another thing.
Bernie was the rising star of this election.
He was.
And he should have been – it should have been quickly noted that people like – you know, it's one of those, like, everyone hates business.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone – like, anytime you talk about the business side of things, people tend to get a little bit, like, caught up. Like, business in music is terrible.
Yes.
Like, they only –
well, it's not. Especially if you go with a great independent record label.
Well, I'm saying, like, as far as, like, you know, Columbia and Warner's and all these, like, big Sony and all these big labels.
They are horrible.
They don't know what good music is. They know what makes money.
Yes.
But the DNC is, like, in a way, they usually get caught up by, like, the next new thing.
Yeah.
But this year, for some reason, it was very different.
Well,
it felt like there was control put over it, where it felt very corporate and very like, no, we gotta.
Right.
This new thing's just a fad. This Bernie Sanders, it's not gonna last. Hillary Clinton's forever. Like
the most qualified
Rolling
person.
Stone. She's gonna make the most money on tour this year. Like,
most qualified person to ever run for president. How many times do we hear?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So number one, stop going after superstars and start bringing in a field of. Baseball, politics and baseball are very similar. You can't win when you have one really great player.
Right.
Because you have to have a lot of talent spread out for the whole thing. Trump seems like he's that rising star, and maybe he was in the party, but it was all of these legitimate politicians backing him and saying, I'm with him. He's our party's choice. We're going to go with him. We're going to help support him. Paul Ryan probably goes home and throws up every single day that he has to support something that Trump does.
Yeah.
But he does it. Because they're like a military unit. And when the captain turns around and says, let's march, they all march together. So stop doing the superstars, start building up. The other thing that I would say about the DNC is that you guys have to realize you're a leftist party. I don't know when that was lost. I would blame Clinton for that again, that he shifted the party to the right, and that the rise of Hillary Clinton in this election and the maintaining it is the party terrified of itself.
Right.
Terrified to move back to the left. If you were a conservative, you may say, listen, I wouldn't personally have an abortion, but I am not anti-abortion. But I'm okay with you believing that life begins at ejaculation. Like, I'm okay with you doing that, and we can all argue for the same things. The left does not do that. The DNC tries to have that same kind of control, and they just can't.
I think there's actually a really interesting place just to the left of the Republican Party. Not even just any, like, sort of going to your own corner, but trying to fill the void. Because so many people are in the middle, and if you make the Democratic Party more about the personal liberties that the Republicans have sort of evaded,
right,
I think there's a lot of ground to be covered. Much like you said with, like, abortion, because that's such an iffy thing.
Yeah.
But you can, at the very least, with the pro-choice argument, you can say, listen, I would never do it. Right. I would never have an abortion. I don't feel like it's right. But I respect the fact that other people might be in situations that are different than mine. And while I don't like it, and while I think it's heinous and blah 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 blah, I can't do something that affects somebody's personal liberties, and I will defend the right for them to do this.
Yes.
Even if I find it disgusting.
And I understand that the Democrats lost the Libertarians because of taxes. Taxes is what we lose Libertarians on.
Yeah.
But there can be a wholesale movement towards trying to get some of these Libertarians, these centrists, to vote Democratic. To say, I want you to have all your rights. Now, in exchange for you being able to grow marijuana and defend it with guns and marry whatever person you want to marry, you're going to get all of that from us. But you're also going to get some of these more big government programs. But by the way, if you're ever hungry, we're going to take care of that. If you have no place to live, we're going to take care of that. You may not like that, but if you or your children or your grandparents or anyone else ever comes to the point that they need, we are going to take care of that. And I think that that's a message that would resonate even with some libertarians. Not all, because there are going to be people who are going to be a far right. But
I mean, I feel like even if you... Like, right now the Republicans are putting out a tax plan that is essentially cutting taxes on the richest of the rich.
Yeah.
In order to... And, you know, there's tax cuts along the way, but the people who get the biggest cut of it are the rich.
Yeah.
The 1%. I think that there's a reasoned argument to say that I've talked about a flat tax plan forever.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason the Democrats can't come up with something like that. Like,
Yeah.
hey, listen, the bottom 98% of people are going to be taxed pretty reasonably, depending, like, no matter how much they make.
Yeah.
It'll be a little bit more if you make a little bit more, but it's not going to be a huge jump.
Right.
And then the people who are at the very top
Are going to pay a lot.
obviously are going to pay a lot more.
Yeah.
Just because they make a lot more, and it's not fair that a lot of what they make is based off of the work of people below them and blah,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. I think that if you try to just find the space in between the current Republican Party and where most people are right now, you will find a lot of people would be excited about the idea of a more flat tax plan.
Yeah.
The people who are in the middle class, who, like, say you make $70,000 a year, but you're dreaming that one day you'll make $150,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
But part of the reason why people had been Republicans before is because once you go from 70 to 150, you're taxed into the Stone Age.
But by the way,
Democrats.
150,000 and 150 million taxed at the same rate.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I'm saying, like, the Democrats could find a place where they go like, hey, listen, 75, 150, it doesn't really change that much.
Yeah.
If you start making $150 million a year, then we're gonna
Then
talk
you pay
about a
more.
little bit of a raise. But I think we can all agree that that's needed a little bit here.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's essentially the same structure that works for people who raise money as a candidate.
Right.
Like, you want to get as much money as you possibly can from the richest people.
The full
Monty.
Monty.
Yeah, they're going to be able to afford the full contribution.
Yeah.
People who are making $50,000 a year, you don't expect them to make the maximum contribution they can.
Right.
But you expect a lot of these people to make $20 contributions.
And you can stack it.
And you can make a campaign.
The bigger thing is that they're cutting taxes, yes, but the Republicans aren't cutting the budget. And at some point, we have to look at it.
The Democrats.
But here's the thing. It used to be tax and spend Democrats, tax and spend Democrats. Now you're cutting taxes. You're still spending just as much. So at what point are we going to say, hey, the budgets are the same? And at least when we Democrats write a budget, we are looking out for science and the arts and taking care of people and healthcare and things that people really, roads here in America, things that we really benefit from. When the Republicans write a huge budget, one, most of it is deficit spending because they also want to cut taxes, but also it's really just transferring wealth from you, Mr. I make $70,000 a year, to very rich people.
Yeah.
Because not only are they getting a tax cut, but they're also getting investments made in their companies.
Yeah, or they're getting the estate tax
deal
or whatever.
So I don't know. There needs to be a shift, and there needs to be a message shift. And so that my first thing is, don't look for superstars anymore. Build up a cadre of people and let the best person win when the election comes. Have a stage with 10 people on it, and let the people decide. Let the citizens decide who is the best of them, and let them run.
I would also say that, I mean, like, I agree with the idea of, like, let's not have a superstar system where it's only a select group who gets sort of handpicked.
Yeah.
Even though in more recent years it hasn't, like, you know, Clinton wasn't handpicked. Bill.
Yeah.
wasn't handpicked, and Obama wasn't handpicked.
No.
They both fought through the noise. But what I feel like the Democrats have completely lost sight of is the fact that their most popular and their most riveting candidates are the ones who speak honestly to people.
Yeah.
And Bill Clinton was legendary for his empathy.
Yeah.
If nothing, regardless of what you may think of Bill, he could sit in a room with somebody and talk to them and make them think that he knew what they were going through.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I've been there. I've been poor. I've been struggling.
Yeah.
I know what it's like. And this is why I do what I do. Like, and once you experience somebody like that, you fall in love and you go like, this is the one for me. I'm not getting off Bill. Who cares what he's done? Like,
But by the way, guess who learned that lesson? Who came right after Bill Clinton? George W. Bush, the guy who the Republicans said, this is what we need. We need a guy who looks like I could have a beer with you. And when you run him against Al Gore, who was great for Bill Clinton because he was the nerd to the jock friend, but he didn't have his own jock friend who ran with him.
I mean, really what killed Gore at the end of it all was that people didn't want somebody who felt like a big know-it-all.
Yeah. And he was running against George W. Bush.
And Bush was so relatable. And again, it comes out like people. I think why people liked Bernie so much was because he just said what he felt.
Yep.
Like it felt like it was honest and real. And if you said something, like the difference between like Hillary and Bernie, like we saw this with Trump and the Nazis. Like he's like, oh, some of these people are good people. Let's not rush to judgment. Hillary will come up with a statement. If the question is Nazis, Hillary will come up with some sort of statement going like, well, I respect all Americans, regardless of what they think, but I think horrible views are...
Yeah.
She'll try and...
Politicize, make
everybody fit into her voting audience. Well, Bernie would just go like, fuck the Nazis.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing this.
Interesting question for you.
Yeah.
Al Gore versus Donald Trump in 2000. Who wins that race?
In 2000?
Yeah.
Gore, but I think that part of what happened with Trump here is that Hillary felt so paint by numbers.
Yeah,
like everything. Like anytime somebody spoke to her, there was like a computer running in her head, like putting together the perfect response. Very political answer.
Yeah.
And Trump would just shoot off this hip, and sometimes for the best, and sometimes for the worst. But like it was clear he was not thinking about what he was saying before he was saying it.
Right. I just think that Trump came off way more Joe Everyman because you compared him to Hillary. If you put Gore and Trump there,
Gore was very, very robotic and very
right, but not in the same way that Hillary was. And I think that the only reason Gore lost was because he ran against the better version of Donald Trump, which is George W. Bush.
Yeah.
If Trump is there and it's two know-it-alls, two robotic guys.
You take. I was honestly thinking about this the other day. What if Gore had won, or what had run this election?
Mm-hmm.
Like early on, he announced, and it was just clear that it was going to be the Al Gore show.
Well, Hillary's still going to run against him.
Well, I know, but I'm saying like it was clear that Al Gore had mana from heaven. He was like, ready to do it.
Okay.
I think that there's something to be said about Gore being a different candidate now than he was
100%.
in 2000.
Yeah.
And I think that he would be way more relatable now than he was then, and I think that he would be more popular now than he was then.
Yeah.
And, he nearly won the election before. But the Democrats were so quick to, like, basically shoot him out of a cannon into the sun the second that he lost that election.
But the
Democrats were, like, so mad that he managed to lose the W that he was basically cut out from the Democratic Party.
But that's what made him the guy that he is today, the relatable guy.
But I'm saying, like, we also don't get that anymore. Like, I feel like if the Democrats really wanted to turn this all around, they would shit on Hillary right now.
Yeah.
They would not spend their time going like, let's not relitigate 2016 or blah, 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 blah. She's never going to be able to run for president again. She's not going to be able to win.
She's never going to be able to win. Whether or not she runs for president again is within her purview.
Yeah, but, I mean, like, she's not... If she ran again, then it would just make life more difficult for the Democrat who would end up winning.
Yeah.
Like, so, as a hypothetical, let's say that Biden runs in the next election.
2020.
Yeah, and Hillary wants to get in too. Then Biden's going to eventually beat Hillary.
It's just going to cost them money
It's
and
going to cost
effort
money
and time.
and trouble and horribleness, and
Yeah.
no matter what, like clearly, just as we've learned from this whole Trump-Russia thing, anytime there seems to be like a foothold grabbed on some sort of new piece of information about Russia collusion and stuff like that, that's the same exact moment where Hillary does something that just gets hoisted to the forefront and becomes the talking point on the other side. It's like, oh no, don't pay any attention to this Russia-Trump collusion shit. But uranium won. Clearly, there was something afoot here.
Right.
What would be best for the Democratic Party right now is for Tom Perez to basically come out and have a press conference and say, hey, I'm Tom Perez, the head of the DNC. I don't know if you know me, but here's a very important message that we have from up high that we're going to now share with the rest of you, the American people. Fuck Hillary Clinton. Seriously, bitch, go home. All right, that's it. See ya. And then just walk away. Because everybody would be like, yay, the end of Hillary.
Yeah.
They're not even standing up for her shit anymore. And then Hillary would say something where she's just like, I think it's crazy that the Democrats would throw me to the curb after all I've done for them. And then people would just be like, yay, Democrats are good people because Hillary hates them.
Yeah. Turn Hillary against the party and then get the benefit. Yeah.
Right. Like, it's not like Bill's going to do anything for you anymore.
No.
It's not like Hillary's doing. Just exercise yourself from this horrible situation.
Let the news about Hillary be about the Clintons and not about the Democratic Party.
Yeah. Don't stop tying them together, because Al Gore to Democrats in the months following the 2000 election was just like, how dare you speak that evil name aloud? Like,
and we need more of that.
Yeah.
In fact, Kerry was the same way in 2004. Like, how do you lose to a guy who is this unpopular?
Yeah.
And how do you not tell us about these things that are going to pop up during an election?
Well, but they also, Democrats also, I think that the overall idea of authenticity is what's key here. And I think that you just let it happen naturally. Like, Elizabeth Warren wasn't, like, on a rock star path from the beginning. She just did it on her own. People really dug what she was doing, and she just continued to grow as herself. And Cory Booker's doing the same sort of thing, and both these people could be running for president next time around. But don't try and, like, curtail them or put them in a box or do anything like that. Just let them be them.
Right.
Because part of what ruined Kerry was, like, they would have him, like, windsurfing. And it's just like, look, he's a cool guy. And it's like,
that's not who he is.
That's not who he is. Like, just, like, how about, I don't care. Like, I don't like Kerry. I don't like Kerry for reasons.
Yeah.
You're not going to, like, put John Kerry on a skateboard and make me go like, whoa, radical, like.
Yeah, and hopefully
the
Democrats are taking my advice, because I see them not Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, the woman who you just named,
Elizabeth
Warren. I don't see them knocking anybody down. They're letting everyone run at their own pace and do their own thing, and each of them has something in the Senate that they are focused on. Cory Booker's not talking about legalization, and Elizabeth Warren is still talking about Wall Street, which is abysmal that we haven't fixed that yet. And Kamala Harris is doing
that thing that almost ruined the global economy.
Yeah, and there's not a message from the Democratic Party saying, hey, we really should talk about this marijuana thing to try to push Cory Booker up the premise. Like, let them all run. We'll see who's there in 2018. In the fall of 2018, we'll see who's around and have ourselves a race.
Also, if I was the Democrats, and this wouldn't necessarily be like if I'm Tom Perez, I'm not telling people to do this.
Yeah.
But I'm figuring out some way to let the chips fall in this way.
Mm-hmm.
I want to put pressure on the old guard Democrats who are not going to help me in the next 20 years or 30 years.
Yeah.
So Dianne Feinstein, what's her face in the...
Barbara Boxer?
No, in Congress.
Pelosi? Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah, Pelosi.
Yes.
These people don't help you. Like, there's nothing about what they do that helps you.
Shut up.
You're just getting the Democrats who are eventually going to run and unseat you angry.
Yeah.
So much like Jeff Flake realizes that the second he speaks shit about Trump, he's done.
Yeah.
And he has no chance of winning, so he's just going to retire and he's not even going to bother running.
Yeah.
How about we just get Pelosi and Feinstein and all these other ones that like just irritate people so much on both sides to just drop out.
Find a successor.
Yeah.
Promote the successor. Let them. These are very strong Democratic districts. It's going to be the Democrat who wins.
I mean, if you think that you're going to elect a Republican as a senator in California, then go ahead.
Good luck.
Free.
Good luck. And
Feel free
especially
to run Tim Allen and see how well it goes.
Yeah.
Like,
Anyway, so that was a segment about how would we fix it. So if you guys enjoyed that, we'll do that on topics coming up more in the future. We want to talk a little bit about Trump, but we're running a little short on time. So I think we'll save it for next week when we know a little bit more about this North Korea Putin-Trump meeting. And we'll talk about that.
Essentially, there's a lot of balls in the air, and there's no point in talking about something that like is so ballsy at the moment.
But you brought up an interesting point earlier, which was that we haven't seen a really big October blockbuster, October big movie.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen a lot from the movies at all. You and I, you didn't. I got Movie Pass finally, and Roberto, friend of the show, Roberto, who's been on here before, has Movie Pass now. And it's been like, I can go see any movie I want, but at the same time, there's nothing drawing me out to that first movie.
Right.
It looks like Thor Ragnarok's going to be something that we're going to all go see. You guys are going to see it in the day, and then I'll go see it by myself later. But you made the point that it looks like we're shifting back towards television again.
Well, I mean, so the movie industry this year has been pretty bad. Go ahead, real quickly, think of more than 5 films that would be nominated for Best Picture. I'll sit here and read.
Well, to be fair, I don't know most of the pictures that are ever nominated.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying, like,
think
right now about 5 films that are good enough that could be Best Picture from this year.
Probably none. I don't think I've seen.
I mean, like, you liked Get Out.
Yeah, but they won't be able to help themselves, so they will nominate Get Out.
Yeah,
I don't know that it was Best Picture.
It doesn't seem like on the level of like On the Waterfront or something like that.
No, it's not.
Citizen Kane or Gone with the Wind.
Right.
It's not. Nothing against. I like to Get Out a lot. I'm just saying, like, it's not what you traditionally think of as an Oscar-nominated film.
Our complaint year after year is they're not putting movies that people watch in it. They're putting these artsy movies that only a certain number of people go see. Get Out is a movie that everybody went to see. It probably would be in the Best Picture talk. Whether it is remaining to be seen. But that's a great example. That's probably the one that I can think of that would be in there.
Yeah, and I mean, like, there's a couple others that I thought I thought Baby Driver was awesome. I don't know if it's Best Picture worthy.
Right, and
a
again,
year like this, where so many movies are so terrible.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe?
But there's probably a bunch of stuff we didn't see that is going to be nominated.
To be fair, a lot of the things that usually get nominated are saved for the end of the year.
Yeah.
So the things that get dropped in December and are the ones that are most likely to be the Oscar contenders because they want to have it be fresh on your mind.
Right.
You probably didn't even think that Get Out was this year.
It
felt like it was so long ago.
Yeah, it was last year. But no, it was this year. It was June this year?
No, it was earlier than that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. It wasn't cold out. Oh, wait. It's never cold in LA. Anyway. But so instead, though, you made a point about television being the thing we're talking about.
There's been no big winners in the box office for the film industry this October, but the biggest thing seems to be Stranger Things and Netflix.
Yeah.
Which is so weird that it's such a shift between, like, usually, at the very least, there's a movie that if you're not really excited about seeing it this week, there's something coming up. It's like, there's nothing I really want to see right now, but next week Thor's coming out. I want to see Thor. Like,
well, people are talking about Thor.
Yeah.
And it's not my favorite of the Marvel Universe, but I want to see it. I'm not rushing out Friday night to see it.
Right.
You aren't rushing. You're not looking forward to Star Wars. I am super stoked about Star Wars in a couple months. But again, that's December. So I'm not really excited about it right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there's anything in the theater right now that I am rushing out. That's part of the problem. Is that, like, when I think about coming home and relaxing versus going to a movie on Tuesday night, I'm like, oh, I got the Movie Pass. I should go to a movie. There's nothing really drawing me out of my house.
Yeah.
Especially when I can go home and watch Stranger Things, because we have not finished Stranger Things yet. We are pacing it out. What's
wonderful, I think, about the Netflix at home experience as opposed to, like, going to the movies is that if we go to see a movie right after we get done with the podcast here, so it's 9:38.
Yes.
So there's a 10:30 showing somewhere.
Yeah.
We have to leave here 10:15 in order to get to the theater in time, to get our tickets, to get our popcorn.
Deal with parking.
Yeah. And then we're going to be in that movie for 2 hours.
Right.
And then there's probably another 15 minutes at the end of getting home and doing all that stuff. So we've already guaranteed that we're going to be getting home at like 12:45, 1 o'clock.
Which was the talk last week. We were talking about going to a movie. It's like, yeah, the next one's not until 10:15, and I just can't be out that late.
You know, if we get out at 12:45, then you got work in the morning, and Rachel's got work in the morning, and everyone's going to be tired, and blah, blah, blah. And we could just watch 2 episodes of Stranger Things, and that would take us right to 12 o'clock, which is usually around bedtime.
Yeah.
And we're good to go.
And the quality, I know watching Stranger Things what I'm getting into.
Mm.
The worst part is when you get out of the movie and you get home and you're like, it wasn't even fucking worth it to be this tired for work tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know?
Or if you, you know, like normally I would just let Stranger Things play and I would just watch episode after episode after episode until I'm ready to stop.
Yeah.
But, you know, if something happens in Stranger Things where I'm just like, what did he say? We can go back a little bit and figure it out. And it's not going to disturb everybody in the theater. Like, if I stood up in the middle.
What was that?
Can you rewind it 15 seconds? I missed that part. Like,
yeah.
You know, or if you wanted to, like, Rob's the type who likes to watch it with the closed captioning to, like, get the extra little emphasis on what they're saying. There's no closed captioning at the theater.
No. Well, and I also do that because, as we talked about earlier, it makes me writing easier because I can kind of like, it gives me more data to input and I don't have to listen as closely because I'm reading it and I'm typing. So I know it annoys people when I do it, but it helps me follow along while I'm also typing. But anyway, there's a lot of, and Stranger Things aside, Stranger Things was the big thing. Like people, they had the countdown on Netflix and people were talking about like 4 days Stranger Things, 3 things Stranger Things. Have you seen that kind of build-up for a movie this year? I mean, Star Wars, but only really amongst Star Wars people.
But Star Wars, too, hasn't been out in front of everything.
Right.
Like, they're waiting until the week or two before Star Wars to really start pushing it heavy. Right now, it's just sort of like, you know, they'll give you a little bit of something every, you know, like, here's a new trailer. And then people in Star Wars universes go crazy for a little bit.
Right.
And then it slows down. And then
which, by the way, I haven't watched. The first comment I heard about it is like, oh, that basically gives away the plot. And I'm like, all right, so I'm not watching that trailer. All right, I'm good on that. The director,
I think, said, like, I wouldn't recommend you watch the trailer because it gives away a lot of the movie. But holy fucking shit, that was good.
Yeah. No, I'm good on that. I'm good on that. But, so it's not even just Stranger Things. I mean, people are built up about Stranger Things. That is their tent pole for the fall.
Yeah.
But we've watched a lot of really good stuff. This BoJack's new season came back. That was good. I mean, we watched really good things on Netflix.
Haters Back Off was like it really.
Love that you came back. You came around on Haters Back Off. Give it time. Watch it and give it time.
You have to like. Okay, so I'm going to tell you this now because it's going to help you.
Yeah.
Love this a little bit more. This is a character that is based off of a YouTube series.
Yes.
That is very popular because it's so oddly specific.
Yes.
And it just like a fine wine, it takes a little time to age. And if you weren't committed, if you don't know what it was before you started watching it, it's going to seem like terrible to you. But if your reaction is like, this doesn't seem to be like, it seems like they're just missing a little bit.
Right.
Just stick with it, because eventually I know I hate that advice too. I hate when people are just like, you know, just watch 3 episodes of Ray Donovan. If you don't like it, then it's not for you. And I'm just like, I want to be able to watch 20 minutes of Ray Donovan and figure that out. Like,
but here's the thing. If you were to rewatch Haters Back Off now, you would enjoy the stuff that you didn't enjoy at the beginning.
Right.
Because it grew on you.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's
one of those things, like, if you weren't committed, you know, Star Wars. Like, I've never seen any of the Star Wars. So if I go to this Star Wars, I'm probably going to go and not enjoy it as much as other people who are deeply seated in what has been happening.
And you may not survive the movie if somebody hears you say you've never seen any of the other ones and you're walking into the theater. So
just like I see what's her face, the girl,
Ray.
Yeah, Ray. Mm-hmm. Just like walking across, and I'm just like, is that Obi-Wan?
Stop the movie. Stop the movie.
I've heard a lot about this Obi-Wan guy. Is that Obi-Wan?
We got to clear somebody out of the theater. I'm sorry. We need to. Can we pause? Back up 15
seconds.
One
guy with a flashlight. He's like, I'm afraid I'm about to ask you to leave.
Yeah. But so I mean, it's like I said. I got Movie Pass. I'm looking for the one that the first movie I go, and then it'll probably end up being like a 2 or 3 times a week thing, where it's just like, all right, well, whatever. I'm just.
I would very much if I could ever find the time, and I feel like it would just have to be scheduled into my day.
Yeah.
But if I could find the time, I'd love to be like John Waters or from Good Will Hunting. Gus Van Sant.
Okay, I was gonna say Ben Affleck.
Like the type of guy who sees like every movie that comes out, like goes every single day and sees all the movies, regardless of whether or not they're good or bad. Like, I'd love to be that guy where like people could walk up to me and just be like, "Hey, what you think? What you think?" Okay. You know, it's fine. What you think about Happy Death Day? And it's like,
Oh, I did want to see that. Only because of Blumhouse. I want to support Blumhouse. So. Okay. We'll see. But anyway, so the message here is that Netflix, whatever you're doing, it's working. Because it's keeping our asses on the couch and not going out to a movie. We're just going to watch. And even the Stranger Things, like, we got to the end of the episode and we're like, I don't know if I'm in for another 45 minutes. But BoJack's only 26. So let's just watch BoJack and then we'll go to bed after that. Right. And like, there's always options. That's the other thing. So keep on doing it. And hey, if you need a script, I got some scripts. I got some great stuff.
We both have things.
Great things.
You know where you can find them? OhTheAnthem.com. Corey to OhTheAnthem.com. OhTheAnthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595.
And you can find me on all your social networks at Robert N. Cheek. Make sure you check out robertncheek.com where you can find links to my political blog, foundingthefuture.us, the news website, adeaddrop.com, and the books, which are available on Amazon. Wait, go ahead. I'm going back. Go. Yeah. And, of course, make sure you're following at Oh The Anthem on all your social networks. You can find us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. You want to make sure you follow along there so you get notifications. Make sure notifications turn on everywhere because you're not going to want to miss any of the great content that's going out.
We don't bombard you with shit.
No, it's just all important stuff. And, of course, the notification on YouTube, youtube.com/Oh The Anthem, where you're watching us now, hopefully. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and share it. Tell everybody whether you like this episode and you want other people to see it.
Yeah, so. if you stumble upon us and say, like, hey, these guys are pretty funny.
Yeah.
Tell other people that we're pretty funny.
Yeah.
It goes a long way.
Right.
All right. Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the Oh The Anthem podcast, part of the Oh The Anthem digital network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
And now a message from Tom Perez to the rest of the DNC. Yo, fuck Hillary, right? Like, right? Come on. They're hearing through the thing, so.
Everybody, thank you for joining us for episode 187. Again, make sure you check us out wherever you can find us on the web, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. Make sure you like and subscribe. But thank you for joining us. We'll be back every single week, typically on Saturday. But if you follow us, you'll be able to see when the live streams are going up. We unfortunately can't schedule out very well in advance, so there's not a lot of notice on YouTube, but we do appreciate you joining us here.
Thank you very much, and share.
Yeah, and also make sure you go check out everything that we have to offer on the page. You can find the web series that we did last year. You can find all of Corey's Genesis series right down there. And, of course, every single episode has been recorded. You're going to be able to find that on the page as well. So you can do what I'm doing and go back and listen to all the episodes. I'm in the 80s now, so it'll take some time, but you can catch up to me, and then we can talk about all the episodes.
Is it worth catching up, do you feel?
Absolutely. I'm loving going through all of the old stuff. So on all your social networks, but especially Twitter, you can do #OTA Flashback, and you can see all the tweets about the old episodes and help catch up with me. But otherwise, have a great week, everybody. Thank you for watching.
Toodaloo.